Well, welcome everybody. And March's coaching clinic is about getting beyond discouragement, disappointment, and grief, and really how that doesn't exist in a high mood. That's something I really started to come to see in my own life after the death of my partner. Um, that experience taught me more about what I was trying to learn through the principles. But isn't it interesting? The experience of the death of my loved one taught me more about what it all means than years of trying to study it or learn it or understand it. And so there's a few things I've seen as I've gone along that I think are really relatable to our business, not just our life, not just our situation with relationships, but how it's relatable to really anything we do. And because I'm quite interested in people following their path and getting on their path and making money with their path, I like to sort of see how these insights connect to our purpose and our service in the world. And so today's topic, I'm hoping will really support you if you're looking in the direction of your service or a new service, or if you're looking in the direction of, navigating loss, navigating um, an unexpected challenge as well in your life. And I like to start these clinics with a gentle grounding exercise. So Joe, I think if you can, I get you to switch your camera off, darling. What we're going to do here is we're going to close our eyes and hopefully we're sitting down or we're lying down. And we're just going to go through a visualization. And if you are walking or driving, um, maybe save this one for when you're not and just listen in the meantime. It's just short but pretty powerful. And I discovered after sleeping for 2 hours this afternoon that actually there's a big Virgo eclipse today. And there's a big shift going on energetically. So if you're feeling tired or you're feeling like not yourself or out of sorts, or you've needed more sleep or needed more rest today, let this visualization and meditation really, really ground you and support you because there's a powerful energy of endings going on. And whilst I don't always know if I believe in all of that, I have a curiosity about it. And I am quite sensitive to how I feel. So I've needed a lot of rest today. Anyway, we all could do with more rest. So let's close our eyes and just put our feet on the floor, 2 feet on the floor. I'm just trying to mute your line. If you're not muted, it'd be great if you could mute. Adele in particular, if you can mute, that would be great. So just visualize now roots coming from your feet down through the ground, down into the underground, right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock. Begin to take a few breaths in through your nose and out. In through the nose and out. In through the nose once more and out. Becoming present to this space. Feeling the weight of your body without judgment. Sitting on the chair or lying wherever you're lying. And feeling the support of your back and your sitting bones and your thighs and your legs. And we're going to see golden light now emanating from that rock at the bottom of the earth. And that light is coming up through the roots, through the underground, through the ground, up through the floorboards and into the soles of your feet. See the light traveling now through the soles of the feet to the ankles, through the shins, back of the calves, kneecaps, through the front of the thighs and the back, up through the front of the body, the back of the body, as it travels up through the spine, to the top of the head. Same at the front as it travels up through the torso, through the neck to the top of the head. The light meets each other. See the light now swishing down the left side of the head, the left shoulder, the left arm, all the way down to the left hand and out through the fingertips. And down through the right side of the head, the right shoulder, the right arm, all the way down through the right hand and out through the fingertips, until your whole body is enveloped in this beautiful elixir of golden light. This is the light of our true nature, a healing balm, an elixir of love. Send that light now to any situation or any person that you're feeling discouraged around. See the light traveling there, lightening up whatever's going on. And see the light travel back to you now, receiving it fully, allowing yourself to relax into the light. And receive this gentle blessing. Dear Spirit, may each participant and listener be lifted up as a result of taking part in today's coaching clinic. May all discouragement and disappointment be wiped out. May new hope and rays of possibility and opportunity now enter. May we let go of anything that we're now ready and able to release, including grief, including physical pain, and including any poverty mindset. May we be lifted up by the light. May we be dazzled by the light. And may we receive a light heart and a higher mood, a light mood, as we explore this topic and receive deep healing today. Amen. Just receive that. And now I see roots coming down through your feet, down through the ground, down into the underground, right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock and feel yourself centered. Begin to gently move your fingers and toes. Gently opening your eyes and coming back to this space just now. Be with you in a moment. So, moods, higher moods exist. A higher mood is available for all of us. And it often starts by recognizing when you're in a low mood. And I think what I notice is that most humans don't know when they're in a low mood. But there are some indicators, and you will have personal indicators that alert us to a drop in mood. It alerts us to where we are on the elevator of consciousness. I love how I think it's perhaps Dr. Bill Pettit within the principles community, and he says, when he knows he's in a low mood when everybody becomes a bitch and a bastard. His goodwill falls out of the way. That's a very accurate description, isn't it? That you would have a clarity about where you're currently vibrating, let's say, or resonating by how much goodwill you've got going on towards yourself and towards others. I really started to understand this mood thing when I would notice that grief would really slap me in the face. At least it looked like that when my mood had dropped. Before that, I'm not sure I had such a sharp indicator. But I also began to notice that in a higher mood, my memories of my relationship weren't filled with grief and loss. Isn't that interesting? That you could have the same circumstance within the same amount of time, like in the same day, you could experience the loss as a great disappointment, as a great discouragement. And on the same day, you could experience the loss with memories of um, contentment and goodwill about how you enjoy life together. That got me really curious. Well, hold on a minute. That goes against this idea that time is the great healer. that it takes time to heal from disappointment, discouragement, grief. That wipes that out the window. Because if on the same day you can have two completely different experiences, surely there is some role of thought involved. You see? Same with business. I remember 2016, I was in the middle of my apprenticeship with Michael Neal for, really, really going deep on these principles. And I remember, you know, the whole ship went down. I completely lost my bearings in terms of what I was doing to help people. And I lost confidence. And I got really discouraged. I lived in discouragement, which kind of perpetuated the problem. And then I remember listening to one audio, just one audio, when I was on a retreat as part of my apprenticeship. And I listened to an audio and my spirits lifted up. My spirits lifted. My financial situation didn't change in that instant, but my mood lifted, my spirits lifted, and guess what emerged? Hope, possibility, soon followed by opportunity. So you see, when we're in a low mood, we don't want to go and try and figure out where the client's coming from. What am I offering the world? How am I going to pay that particular debt? Like we're in a low mood. We're looking for a lift in our spirits. As I said to a client the other day, we're looking for a rekindling of our spirit. First and foremost, a rekindling of our spirit. Ellen, do you mind if we switch your camera off, darling? Thank you. The corner of my eye sees somebody moving. Thank you. Great that you're here. We're looking for a lift in our spirit first and foremost. And sometimes the mistake is people go looking for a solution to their problem, an answer to their question. As our mood lifts, as our spirit lifts, we see differently. Now we start to see possibility we didn't see before. Now it looks to me that we even start to bring forward opportunity that may not have been there before, or may have been there, but we couldn't see it in a low mood. And so it's important that we just begin to recognize that that is the foundation um, for anything we're looking for, whether we're trying to resolve a financial issue or we're trying to make a decision in a relationship or we're trying to um, experience less pain in the body. We're looking for a lift in our spirits first, a rekindling of our spirits. One of the reasons I love prayer so much is because I find that effective in lifting my spirits. I really find that when I hand it over, it can get done. When I'm not worrying about my low mood, when I'm not worrying about a situation, and I bless it and hand it over in a way, I find that has quite a quick effect. But first, I have to recognize that that's what's going on. And how do I recognize that that low moods are going on. Discouragement, disappointment, heavy grief, bitches and bastards all around. In other words, judgment. God, I get into that one. Judging self, judging others. My dog's the only one that's free of that even in a low mood. So we want to get good at we don't want to get obsessed with this. We don't want to keep looking at low moods, but we want to get good at recognizing when we've dropped into one. And so here's the key. We don't want to make meaning when we're in a low mood. We don't want to start analyzing our business and believing all of our thinking about our bodies in a low mood. We want to do whatever it takes to rekindle our spirit. Some of you have been here on this call over time, and some of you have come on in low moods and gone off in a higher mood. It's a natural thing that your ability to shift moods, to move your mood, you've got that in you. It's automatic. Sometimes you'll help yourself by listening deeply. Sometimes it'll make sense to you to go and, your wisdom will give you something to go and do to help you move your mood. But that's not what's important. What's important is that you see it. It really is, as Sid Banks said, we're just one thought away from a whole new world. One thought. I couldn't sleep for an hour, I think it was the other night. And so I switched Sid on, as I sometimes will do in the middle of the night. And um, I don't know what he was saying, but I, I do know that I woke up with what I've become familiar with as an angelic smile on my face. Like a little smile, like the consciousness had heard something, but the mind didn't know what it was. A little smile. The mood had lifted. That to me is the power of what he shared. We're just one thought away. And sometimes our wisdom will be guiding us to listen to something, read something, go and see someone, visit somewhere. Sometimes we'll be guided into action that supports a lifting of our spirits. But I really want you to get that today. Is like, you're not looking for anything but a lift in your spirits. And when our mood drops, we can't trust our thinking in a low mood. The quality of thought is going to be critical, judgmental, sad, harsh, grief-like. So that's not the place to solve the problem about your message or your how you're going to pay off your credit card. In a higher mood, you get fresh thinking. You don't feel discouraged, you feel hopeful. I really got that with my own credit card situation. You know, at one point, people with more concerns about money than I have were very concerned about the amount of interest that I was having to pay on a credit card. It never bothered me. Like, it just didn't bother me. But in a low mood, when I would look at that and I would take other people's thinking seriously, I would feel very stuck. I wouldn't see any solution. And I certainly wasn't motivated to pay off a credit card. I was out for a walk one day in a much higher state of mind. And wisdom will always bring us guidance and fresh thinking in our values, in a way that speaks to us. And as I was out walking one day, it occurred to me, gosh, the amount of interest that you pay on that, you could get a Chanel handbag. Now I'm interested. Now I'm starting to connect the dots. Hold on a minute, what? I did not act immediately there and then, I will admit, but wisdom gave me, in a higher mood, fresh thinking. And I got curious and interested in, paying that off, getting that sorted out. Instead of being told, oh, you should do that because, and you have to do that, and this isn't good. Like, no, other people have lots of thinking about debt and about money, and they get discouraged immediately if they've got any sort of debt or anything. Like, other people live a lot in a low mood about the fact that the universe will provide you what you need and charge you interest, but will make sure that it's available for you when you need it. And so I've always had this kind of easy affair about it until I got that wisdom where I was like, oh, that does make sense. Well, if I could have a Chanel bag instead of paying the bank that, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's do that. Higher mood, higher quality thinking about any situation. And if there's a problem to solve, particularly good quality thinking that will help you solve your way. Lower mood, lower quality thinking, not to be trusted. Flavored with should, have to, ought to, need to. Other people say have to, other people say should. So we want to get discerning. We want to trust that we are that well loved. We are that well loved by this divine energy that it would bring us guidance in a way that is connected to the easiest path and the gentlest direction. Again, when there's a problem, any problem, you feel discouragement, or you feel disappointment, or you feel grief, the first port of call is to get a rekindling of your spirits. The first port of call is not to go and try and find a solution and talk to lots of people about it. A rekindling of your spirits. And as your spirits lift and lift and lift, you have a different level of feeling, a different level of thought, a different level of solution. But keep in mind that your mood goes up and down all day. You can't keep a level of consciousness. Nobody can. You got to see it as, thank God I'm in a high mood for this 30 seconds. Honestly. Now, as we look in this direction, we all have a level of grounding that tends to keep us more than 30 seconds in a high mood, right? But that's why Sid Banks says, we're all a bit schizophrenic. Because if you look at humans, they will shift in and out in an instant. You know, his specific example for that was that somebody gives a human $100 and they're all happy and they're in a high mood. And 2 minutes later, somebody bashes the human's car by accident and they've suddenly dropped into a bad mood and they're really disappointed and annoyed by this car crash, right? We're all a bit schizophrenic because we're going up and down all the time. And the place we get in trouble is when we say to ourselves, but this shouldn't be happening. But I shouldn't feel this way. You can't keep a level of consciousness. Okay. Now, I could be in a terrible mood before I get on this call. Doesn't matter because the minute I'm on the call, I'm present and I'm engaging something I really enjoy. And the emphasis is off me and onto service. And so my mood is likely to shift. You have that in your life too. You could be in a terrible mood, but then you're engaging something or you're looking at something or your mind becomes present to something and it doesn't matter what was happening 30 seconds ago because now your mood is subject to shift. That is really hopeful. That is why we don't have to say to ourselves on a Wednesday, well, I'm not going to go on Saturday because I don't feel like it. Well, it's only Wednesday. Well, I'm not going to go on Saturday because I'm exhausted, but it's only Wednesday. It's all subject to shift and change and improve, especially if it's something we enjoy, especially if it's something we value. It's all subject for our spirit to get rekindled. So we don't have to worry about this mood thing. I often use that example of my father and being home at Christmas or whenever, and I kind of, notice that he's in a really kind of stressful mood as he's dealing with his life admin stuff at 82 years of age. And, and I've said to him on occasion, do you want to go for a walk? And the response has been an automatic no, and all the reasons that he can't. And it's interesting that the times that he then joined me on the walk, he became present. He shifted very quickly into noticing the nature, being feeling grateful for the sunshine, feeling rekindled in his spirit. Now, we might think, oh, it's because he went for a walk, but we all know that our mood is subject to change in an instant. And as we become present, it has a chance to go up. And so he would often shift his mood so quickly that I would be kind of dumbfounded. Like, wow, that's a big change. I started taking it less personally, and we can do that with those around us. We see them in a low mood. We see them in a stressed mood. We don't have to take it personally. They're just up against low quality thinking in the moment. Doesn't mean anything about us or their love for us or their affection towards us. And us being so present to understanding other people experiencing that level of mood at times, the schizophrenia that Sid talks about. It's very disarming. It's very disarming for others that you can see the truth of what's going on for that other human being because you know it for yourself. My aunt was taken to hospital the other day and, she's had a very hard time physically most of her life. And she was just really getting to the point of more independence and healing. And she fell and broke her shoulder and her arm. And my mind straight away, because I've seen her resilience physically, my mind straight away said a little prayer for a lifting of her spirits, not a healing of her pain in her arm and her shoulder. That comes next, that follows. A lifting of our spirits, a rekindling that we can get through and navigate and be light-hearted in the midst of more and more challenge in our life. See, then she has the healing factor. I'd love to check in at this point. What are you hearing? Anything coming to light? Questions you might have? Things that maybe don't make sense? I'm hoping that these examples I'm sharing sort of clarify or indicate the true potential that we all have when it comes to moving very quickly from discouragement, disappointment, or grief. Does anyone want to share, or does anyone have anything that they'd like to ask? Mandy, thank you.
Hi, thanks for that. Fascinating. I had an experience at the weekend. On Friday, I had some healing therapy and some acupuncture and various things. And during the day, I saw an old story that I'd been believing from my childhood completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
And from that came this really, what I would describe as a low mood. It felt like grief. It felt like a lot of sadness. And I was pretty weepy all of Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning, I had a session with a client, and the cloud lifted while I had the session with the client.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I'd finished, it came back again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let it happen. I just felt quite weepy and quite sad about the fact that been carrying this story for years, and it wasn't true. It wasn't helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just sitting watching TV in the evening with my daughter, and suddenly this cloud just lifted. It was like somebody had put the light on, and I wasn't working on it. Um, it was almost like because I accepted it and knew part of me knew it would pass. And I
Mm-hmm.
can remember looking at her and saying, "Oh, I'm back." And it was such a strange but really powerful experience. But it did. This is my question, I think, Grace, probably that it felt like the grief and the sadness was really important to go through that and to really allow myself to feel it, not
Yeah.
deny it or pretend it wasn't
Yeah.
happening.
Good, good.
So would you say that is a useful thing to do?
Yeah, I don't think we need to resist any feeling that emerges, you know. I think that when we try and if we try and three principle this, oh, it's just thought.
Mm,
Oh, it's just, like that's not helpful.
no.
It's like, no, if you're not resisting your feeling of however uncomfortable it is, it gets a chance to um it gets a chance to move and transform. Um I think what's important to notice here too is, the light is just around the corner, so we don't have to worry about these low feelings.
Yeah.
That I came to a point in my journey, Mandy, where, you know, there was just so much grief that I was just like, okay, well, okay, this means the joy is coming in the morning. And it might not have come in the morning, but it meant it was coming. So I started to see a very strong relationship between the drop and the high, the drop and the high, which helped me just be less concerned about it. And so, same in your case, I hear you letting it roll. I think there's a misunderstanding in the personal development world, some of the law of attraction world, about there's some kind of scaremongering about low quality feelings and thoughts. You have to stay in a high vibration. You have to feel good, even in the face of death and destruction. And it's like, well, who made that up? That's a silly belief. Aside from the fact that it's impossible to actually play out in our lives, if you think about the elevator of consciousness going up and down all day. So that's beautiful. You released something, you realized something. You can pay attention to the fact that when you got on a coaching call with your client, you had no awareness of what you had released. You weren't focused on any memory from the past.
Mm.
So what happens? We feel good again. That's just how the system works. We can use our memory to help ourselves or to hurt ourselves. And so if you're in the middle of a client session, there's no way you're pulling up data from 1986.
66, but
I was 66. Well, there we go. There's no way you're pulling up data from 1966 and dropping into a low mood while you're in service to the human in front of you. Okay. So just be curious about that. Oh wow, look how that could shift. And then I could go right back into a low mood when I was done. Well, I can go right back into memory when I'm not present. I can go right back into when I'm not present to what is happening now. That's just human. That's gentle. That's okay.
And there's something else there, Grace. I think that the feelings were actually, it didn't even feel like a low mood. It didn't feel like a high mood. It felt like a very rich mood. And when I was labeling it, oh, I'm in a
Yeah.
low mood, or I'm in grief, or I'm in whatever, I was just in a feeling state.
Yeah,
So I think
great.
sometimes we label and see it as a
Yeah.
bad thing when actually it's a good, that healing was actually really cathartic and really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
came out of it much brighter and
Hmm.
more hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. I love that insight, Mandy. We don't even have to label it a low mood,
No.
you know? It's just the transitory nature of thought, and for all that I understand about thought and feeling, I do think that sometimes we're just affected and we don't know why and we don't know what exactly it is, and it's okay. It's like today I had my yoga teacher comes on a Tuesday morning, and I'm telling you, I was yawning, like releasing in nearly every one of those moves. And then I was sleeping in the afternoon. And well, I don't know. I mean, I had a wonderful night's sleep, and it doesn't make sense. And who cares? We don't know the level of uh, transformation that goes on within us, and why. Don't ask why.
Thank you, Grace.
Thanks. That was great, Mandy. Thank you. Anybody else? Question, comment, curiosity? Oh, Ellen. Yes, come on, darling.
Thank you. I just want to share what I just wrote in my
Mhm.
notes because
Sure.
what I heard is okay, I know there's no such thing as a solution to a feeling,
Hmm.
and we would like to lift our spirits when
Hmm.
we're feeling low. So I
Yeah.
kind of heard the solution of what you of
Hmm.
that in what you said. So when being in a low mood, the best I can do is being present.
Yeah.
And this might be totally obvious for everyone else, but I heard something
Yeah.
in that the solution always is actually being present.
That's right. Yeah. Lovely, Ellen. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we can just live present all the time, Wouldn't that be amazing? But we're not going to put that pressure on ourselves. We're not going to put that pressure. Um, we just know that it's one thought away. It's like Mandy getting on her coaching call on Saturday and, present to the situation and the client in front of her, and there's no more grief, and then off the call and back in the feeling, you know? So that's how powerful we are. See, we can't control the thinking that comes in, but we can notice when it's low quality and pay a bit less attention to it, or become more present to life because of it. But we can't control what's coming in. It's divine energy moving through. You know, you're a part of that. You are that. And we waste a lot of energy trying to control our thinking and get a better feeling. Laura, lovely to see you, darling.
Hi. I'll make a long story short. I'm not sure if I mentioned to you before. Um, in August, and I had some health things, and it's kind of back and forth since then. And I was sort of on and off the call. I partly heard Mandy, and I had a very similar situation. And I am doing, seeing medical people and all that. Um, so I'm not, here's the thing, in my own mind, like I don't know, is some of this emotional, mental, you know, um, grief, moods, my life situation, my mom dying and whatever, stresses and stuff. But from this part of the story that I heard with Mandy is what happened to me too. I was having a very rough day on last Thursday, where I get and it's kind of an anxious feeling, but it's not. And then my heart's fluttering and I got a pressure in my head and they're checking everything, on me. So if it's physical, fine. I don't know yet.
Mhm.
Um, but I had so we were at lunch with my sister and her husband. So there's four of us, and I just felt mm, like foggy and heart beating and all this stuff. And we're talking for a while, and I was like, guys, let me tell you about my situation. And I'm telling them about it. And then I'm listening to theirs, and we're aging and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I'm not sure if this is what Mandy said, all of a sudden it was like a veil lifted. And I went in my own mind, oh my gosh, something just happened. Something flipped
Mhm.
where, and it wasn't only just thinking about myself because we were still kind of in the conversation. But at that point, I said to myself, I'm going to focus on them. That veil lifted, and now let me just see what other people are up to, and all that. I'm not that it was only about me, but because I was looking for answers too. Let me tell you my story. Um, now that happened Thursday, and then so I'll have like a few good days, and then I'll have a bad day, and it happened Sunday again too, like an episode. Um, and I went about my day because we were busy. I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this, except I also, because knowing the principles and what I'm learning for all of these years, trying not to be upset about it. That's
Mhm.
my goal is like try not to just try to stay calm, see what's going on, because if it's physical symptoms, whatever, okay, then we're trying to figure this out. I'm just trying to stay calm is my bottom line.
Well, you bring up this beautiful insight, which I'm hearing is, the minute your thinking was off yourself, everything lifted. Isn't that incredible? Like, same with Mandy's example, straight on to the other human in front of her. That's why this is the best job in the world. And you don't have to be a coach to get this, right? Like, there you are speaking with other humans, Laura, and the veil lifts. That's how it works. That's how it works. right? Now imagine getting paid for that,
Mhm.
right? You'd be very good at that too, right? Imagine that
Yeah.
you could be helping other people and your spirits be lifting as you do it, you know, and you're in and making a living doing that. But anyway, that's for another day. Um, that is how it works. That, we part of our low mood is a lot of thinking about ourselves. That's how we recognize it. And there, in a split second, in an instant, one thought away, the veil lifts. And instead of analyzing why you're feeling that way, is it about the health? Is it about the grief? Is it about something else? The veil just lifts in an instant, and you're present to a higher mood without having done 10 years of therapy about it. I love what you brought up there, Laura, you know. I really do. And the hope in that as well is we can go through physical challenges, which you had told me was happening and not uncommon either, after the loss of your mum, right? You can be having symptoms, right? But see, your spirit can still lift because your spirit is far beyond symptoms. The symptoms are off the physical. The spirit is off the divine. So that's what's so hopeful too, is we could, a bit like my aunt in the hospital. Yes, I will pray for her healing physically, but first I'm going to focus on her spirit being lifted because the body knows how to heal itself, especially if the mind is in a light-hearted place, right? I love what you shared. Thank you. It was so clear. It also reminds me, and I'll drop a link here, friends, part of the conversation that myself and Dr. Mark Howard have is a conversation called There's More to Life Than Thinking About Yourself. And I just want to drop a link because actually next Wednesday, Mark and I have a lovely webinar coming up on that subject. And I think if you've been interested in this conversation, you'll definitely be interested in that one. So let me drop a link for that. And you just get to register very easily to take part. We will be mentioning our retreat happening in Ireland as well on that call. And you'll get a sense of, well, what does it mean to live beyond thinking about ourselves? Like, what's available there? Okay, so I've just dropped the link. I hope you can see it. Lynn wrote, I was guided to come on the call today. I felt I needed something uplifting to wake up to. 8:20 a.m. here in the West Coast. Good. Glad you're here with us, Lynn. Thank you. Yeah, great. Oh, thank you, Mandy. Yeah, just it just resonates with what Laura has just said to share this. Anybody else? Any other comments or situations going on that you might like to explore before we close today's call? I probably have time for just one more. Sally, hi.
Hello, Grace.
Oh, good to
Good
see you.
good to see you too, and everyone else. This is very timely,
Mhm.
as for the past few months, I've been giving myself permission to take it much more easily because I felt like I was so burnt out with all the different jobs I've been having.
Mhm.
I say, however, I am left this month in a little debt, and today I woke up this morning and I thought, I'm not going to the gym. And I've noticed all day the lower level of, low level of consciousness high, been going in and out. I've made myself go for a run, which I actually wanted to, but I had to. But interestingly, you said about the not asking people. I've just told myself I'm not. Usually, I would have said, "Oh gosh, what do I do?" But I haven't. I don't want the old answers. Well, have you been on social media? Have you applied for this? You better do this. You better. And I haven't. But boy, it's difficult because the personal mind is coming in, going, "Well, you got yourself into this mess."
Mhm.
But there's a knowing, there's a real knowing that it'll work out. But I'm just I'm seeing things differently and I'm doing things differently. But I just feel like I want to lie on the floor and go help. So
Yeah.
thank you. This is really lovely confirmation.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's funny how the examples that come into my mind, to me, sometimes they're a bit strange, but somebody needs to hear it. It's not like I have those planned out. So I'm so glad if the debt example might soothe your thinking, you know, your thinking. And sometimes we do need to lie on the floor and say, help. Sometimes an energetic help from within is us telephoning God, and God will telephone us back through ideas, solutions, intuition, direction, clarity. But again, we'll hear that telephone call when we're not beating ourselves up, freaking out, feeling guilty, feeling shame, you know. I learned a long time ago to stop telling people that weren't in this conversation, to just stop telling them anything. When it came to a what looked like a problem to me. So my insecurity would want to tell and get everyone involved like that. But that I sort of realized over time, gosh, well, people make things worse when they don't understand how the mind works. So why would I involve them? You know? But it's innocent. It's innocent. Um, I think when you have a certain level of grounding, which, you all do, you're all here, you're all engaging this conversation, and goodness knows what else, probably in your day-to-day life, you're listening to other things, and maybe some of you are coaching, and maybe, you can't be looking in this direction and not become sensitive to the feeling you live in. And so when you notice a feeling of insecurity getting stronger as you talk about a subject, it's a good idea to stop talking about it. You see? You notice the feeling of worry increasing as you think about a topic. Well, it's a good idea to stop thinking about it. Simplistic. It sounds too easy. It sounds simplistic, but that's the power we have. Remember, we can't control the thinking that's coming in, but when we notice the feeling is off, we can begin to look away from that level of thinking and look away from talking about it so much. So I hope that's been helpful this month. It's really lovely to see you, and I love that we have a consistency of people that show up every month, and I hope that it supports your grounding and allows you to go about your day and your month in a lifted state. And if I can be of service further, get in touch. If you'd like to explore something a little more personal, one-to-one, please reach out and we can set up a call to look in that direction and see if private coaching is right for you. In the meantime, I have a webinar next week with Dr. Mark that I'd invite you to join us on. He's a gem. He's yeah, talk about lightening the mood and lifting the spirits. I could just listen to him all day for that alone. But this subject is very close to our hearts, and we'd love to share it with you. There's also a webinar happening in an hour, a bit more of a webinar more directed to our retreat that's happening in Spain in May. But we have a webinar in an hour called Following Your Yes. So if that speaks to you, please come and join us there. Because I think in a way, even if you're not interested in the retreat itself in Spain, I think I think we all do well to follow our yes instead of our yes, but. So I'm going to just, let me see if I can get it. I'm going to just put the link in for that too. I know some of you will already have registered, but let me see if I can get the link in for that. And if if you'd like to explore that topic with us, that will be very powerful. Oh, is it the same again? Ooh, I'm not sure. I hope that's it. Let's have a check. Both said meeting register. Oh, it is. Letting desire manifest. So there we go. Those are two opportunities to engage the conversation further. And again, reach out if you'd like to explore private work. Grace@gracefulcoaching.net. Okay, everybody. I'll see you next month, first Tuesday of April, unless it's Easter, but I don't think it is. Lots of love. Bye.